Okay. Did the titles actually update? No, they did not. Why aren't they doing this? I don't... This is like the third or fourth time. Every single time I try to, I try to do this. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, see, it keeps auto updating. It's got to be a setting in OBS. It's got to be a setting in OBS, right? Edit, 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 edit. Okay, let's find this setting really quick. Why is it doing it? So output goes in the encoder. Stream, auto detect. It's got to be like a setting that I have, because it's going to the one of the first ones that I did. I don't know what it's doing, but let's just refresh this, make sure this actually worked. Refresh this, make sure this worked. Guys, it worked, PogChamp. There we go. Okay.
I've never walked into a room so silent.
What is that static?
Oh, don't laugh, don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud.
God, the static noise is going to kill me.
And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank, there goes your future.
Weird comment?
But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. And I was told that, sir.
What is this camera angle?
You won't hear a murmur in the room. I said, we got to loosen these guys up a little bit. So you just have a good time. But I want to thank Secretary.
Is that Karen Levitt, the press secretary?
Yeah,
no, there's no way. It's got to be a reporter.
General Kane.
No, I think it's just
General Raising Kane, for a reason they call him that. When I heard his name, I said, you're the guy I'm looking for. The Joint Chiefs of Staff and so many others in this room who together represent the greatest and most elite fighting force in the history of the world, the United States military. We're very proud of our military. I rebuilt the military during my first term. It's one of the greatest achievements. We had the greatest economy in history, and I built the military. Those are the two things I say more than anything else. And I also kept us safe at the borders. We had very good borders.
Great
we didn't
borders.
have people coming in from jails and prisons and everything like
True,
took
that's all
place over the
happening.
last 4 years. They'll
He
never
invented the
forget what
military.
happened
True.
to this country over the last 4 years.
There was,
with
like,
the incompetence.
back in the day, there was just
There could be no higher
people just
honor
with
than
sticks.
to serve as your commander-in-chief. It is a great honor. I look at you, you're just incredible people.
Imagine calling all the top heads of your military just to literally get up in front of them and be like, yeah, I'm fucking great. Feels bad.
Central casting, I might add. To each and every one of you, I thank you for your unwavering devotion to the armed forces and to
How's
the
it going,
country
Ollie?
that we've all sworn a
Ollie, our
sacred oath
government's
to
fucking
defend.
shut down in
We all
4
have that
hours.
oath, every one of us. I'm thrilled to be here this morning to address the senior leadership of what is once again known around the world as the Department of War. I know Pete spoke about it. He gave a great speech, I thought.
The whole Department of Defense, Department of War is just fucking, it's cringe.
Great speech.
Department of Cringe.
I don't want him to get so good. I hate that. You know? No, I hated it. I almost fired him. I said, you can't. I don't want to go on after that. No, he gave a great speech.
Is this
but he
like a
talked
comedy
about
routine or a
Department of
president,
War.
by the
We were
way?
sitting there. I said, didn't it used to be called the Department of War?
Yeah,
he
back
goes,
in the
"Yes, sir."
1940s.
They changed it like in the early 50s.
Yep.
So we won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything in between and everything before that. We only won. And then we went, in a way, woke. That was probably the first sign of wokeness.
First sign of wokeness has been now confirmed to be in the 1950s. Confirmed. Department of Woke, 1950s.
Change it to defense instead of war. And I said, what do you think? How do you think if we change it back? Would that be a nice idea?
See, okay, but let's think of the context. Why did we change it from the Department of War to the Department of Defense? Especially after World War One and World War Two, pretty fucking super grisly wars that changed like the entire scape of the planet. With what was it? The League of Nations between World War One and World War Two, the NATO. Was it NATO? Was NATO? I think NATO was post World War II. Pretty sure that's why the Department of Defense, they changed the moniker, because it was like, we are not going to be going to war. We're going to be defending. You know, it's. And now I guess we're going to war.
And Pete loved it immediately. Some people thought about it. You know, they gave it a little thought. But in the end, we did it. And I have to be honest, it's so popular. I thought it would be met with fury on the left.
Okay, let's see. How popular? How popular is the name change to Department of War? There's got to be polling on this. I feel like most people just don't give a shit, right? AI says it's unpopular, but I don't really give a shit about that. Polling? I want to see polling data. Okay, YouGov has a poll that 44% of people strongly oppose, but only 11% strongly support. I don't know, see where they're getting people from. Looks to be a lot of people just don't really give a shit. 3,000. Okay, so survey of 3,000 adults, 44% strongly opposed, with 11% strongly supporting. So it looks like this is a blatant lie that people liked it.
But they're sort of giving up, I must be honest with you.
True, giving up. How's the government going?
They've been after me for so many years now. Here we are. Here we are. Come to the White House anytime you'd like. No, they've given up. They're bad, a lot of bad people. But all over, that's been so popular.
Good rhetoric.
Very popular. I really thought that we were going to have to sort of fight it through. There's been no fight. There's been no fight. Like what I called the Gulf of America, the Gulf of America, because to me it was always the Gulf of America. I could never understand.
Pretty sure it was the Gulf of Mexico.
92% of the.
Okay, let's look.
Frontage.
92% of the frontage map of America. Let's look at the map. We have Google Maps here. So sadly, Google Maps bowed down. But I'm pretty sure it's called the Gulf of Mexico because, like, this is the Gulf, right? I could be wrong. What is a Gulf? What is a Gulf? It's a large deep body with the indentation of an ocean or sea in the landmass. We border by land by 3 sides. So it looks like America borders 1, Mexico borders 2, and Mexico, it's like 50-50, maybe Cuba, but I feel like Gulf of Mexico just kind of makes sense because most of it's down here. Unless I guess you're saying up here, but TLDR, stupid name change.
And for years, actually 350 years that were there before us, it was called the Gulf of Mexico. I just had this idea. I'm looking at a map. I'm saying, we have most of the frontage. Why is it Gulf of Mexico?
You have most of the frontage. That's how maps work. I like how the United States policy right now is dictated by Donald Trump looking at a map and being like, can we just change this? And they're like, fuck it, sure.
Why isn't it the
We'll get on our knees.
Gulf of America? And I made the change and it went smoothly. I mean, we had a couple of fake news outlets that refused to make the change. And then
So it's fake news outlets because they didn't change based on your dictation of it? That's what makes them fake news? Got it?
One of them, AP, took us to court, and we won. And the judge, who was a somewhat
Radical
liberal
leftist?
judge, said the name is the Gulf of America, because AP refused to call it the Gulf of America. They wrote, they're not a good outfit, by the way. They call it the Gulf of Mexico. I said, no, the Gulf of America is the name. And the judge actually said that, in fact, you can't even go into the room because what you're doing is not appropriate. The name is the Gulf of America. Google Maps changed the name. Everybody.
Okay, so let's look. AP News sued Gulf of America versus Mexico. Let's see what the judge said. Judge Federal judge on Monday refused to immediately order the White House to restore the AP's press access, saying the news organization had demonstrated it suffer any irreparable harm, but he urged the Trump administration to reconsider its 2-week ban, saying the case is uniformly unhelpful to the White House. So the AP has not proven harm requiring an immediate restraining order because this was a TRO. But he cautioned the White House that the law wasn't on its side, barring AP over continuing to refer to the Gulf of Mexico, not simply the Gulf of America, as Trump decreed an executive order. It seems pretty clear viewpoint discrimination. McFadden, who's McFadden? That is the judge. Okay, so it sounds exactly like the judge didn't say any of these things, and he in fact said I guess he didn't say the opposite, but he pretty much said, like, you can't really do this, but there's a TRO, a temporary restraining order, is like basically an emergency, like, hey, like, if this isn't rolled out immediately, there's going to be negative impact. He said that there is, I guess he didn't find any implication for a TRO, which I'm pretty sure TROs are fairly extreme and uncommon. So everything you just said here is a lie.
They did, but AP wouldn't, and then we won in court. How about that? Isn't that so cool?
So this is interesting that he's saying we won in court. It sounds like the ban eventually, again, fell to the side, and they just failed their TRO request.
The Secretary Hicks has beautifully described the name change reflects far more than the shift in branding. It's really a historic reassertion of our purpose and our identity and our pride. That's when we go with the word war. And we want war because we want.
Is our identity war? Like, is that what America is? Just war? I don't think so.
And
and it's a pretty shit thing to even suggest.
I've settled so many wars since we're here. We're here almost 9 months, and I've settled 7. And yesterday we might have settled the biggest of them all. Although I don't know, Pakistan, India was very big.
Was it? And I feel like they kind of figured that shit out on their own.
But yesterday could be the settlement in the Middle East. That hasn't happened for 3,000 years. I said, how long have you been fighting? 3,000 years, sir. That's a long time.
He's talking about right now he's talking about the Israel-Gaza proposal that was put forth. Israel agreed. I don't think Hamas has even talked about it yet. I don't even know if Iran, Jordan, Saudi, they probably... I would assume that they all agree because they're kind of listed in there. But I don't know if they have. Same with Egypt. I think parts of the proposal make sense to me. I think the part where he's the head of the peace board is absolutely crazy. I don't understand why the ex-British PM is on the board. Doesn't make any sense to me. Unless we're going back to the Balfour Declaration. Yeah. Feels like that's not going to go anywhere, like the last 8 peace deals that he's offered.
Hamas has to agree, and if they don't, it's going to be very tough on them, but it is what it is. But all of the Arab nations, Muslim nations have agreed. Israel has agreed. It's an amazing thing. It just came together. War is very strange. You never know what's going to happen with war. The easiest one of them all is Putin. I said, number one, it's a war that would have never happened if I were president.
True, the easiest one was Putin. Trump has not resolved anything with Russia, Ukraine. When he says that this wouldn't have happened under him, there was still aggression under Donald Trump's first term in 2016 to through 2020. There was still active fighting, and I think the Donbass. I think there was active fighting still. So I don't really understand this I guess there wasn't a full-scale invasion, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't still ongoing fights and
rigged. If I were president, that war would have never happened. Not even a little chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years. But I knew
it did. It was escalating during those 4 years.
That would be easy because I know him so well. Well, that one turned out to be the hardest of them all. We had some that were not settleable, and they all got settled. So if this works out that we did yesterday, with the Middle East, then that's more than a war. That's lots of wars. That's all combined. That's a lot of wars. Many of you were over there in many different capacities in many different countries.
I've solved 8,000 wars.
That's a big part of the earth. But if that works out, it would be
big part of the
8 plus. I got to give myself 2 or 3 for that one.
Yep, there it is.
And then we just have the one to settle. We have to settle it up with President Putin. And Zelensky got to get them together and get it done.
Adi calls Putin president.
But the only way we can do that is through strength. I mean, if we were weak, they wouldn't even take my phone call. But we have extreme strength. We had the horror show in Afghanistan, which is really the reason I think that Putin went in. He saw that horror show.
Afghanistan is another just like one that on the surface looks really bad, but then when you dig into it, a lot of those deals were made by the Trump administration without the acknowledgement of the Afghani army. That was their standing army at the time. A lot of the deals with the Taliban were basically did not include the Afghan army. So during the pullout, nobody kind of knew what the fuck was happening. This was all organized under Donald Trump's administration. Biden just went ahead with it and actually, pulled out. So, because he was in a damned if he did, damned if he didn't situation. But yeah, a lot of those deals were made under the Trump administration.
Biden and his team.
But since he's a giant pussy, he won't take any credit for it.
And that showed, I think it gave him a path in. I wasn't there any longer. I watched that and it was so horrible. I think it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country.
Yeah, what about January 6th?
And now we're back.
Yep,
That's
true.
it. We're not going to have any of that crap happen, I can tell you. That was terrible, so terrible. Together we're reawakening the warrior spirit, and this is a spirit that won and built this nation, and from the cavalry that tamed the Great Plains to the ferocious, unyielding power of Patton Bradley and the great General Douglas MacArthur. These are all great men in this effort. We're a team, and so my message to you is very simple. I am with you, I support you, and as president, I have your backs 100%. You'll never see me even waver a little.
It's interesting that he's saying things like this when he's already fired 2 high-end military officers. He made the comment before that if you disagree with me, you can leave, but, I'll be keeping your badge, basically implying that if you disagree with me, I'll fire you. I have your back as long as you have mine, which
but that's the way it is. And that includes our great police officers and firemen and all of these people that are doing so well.
Trump doesn't give a shit about any of those.
Over the next few years, we're going to make our military stronger, tougher, faster, fiercer, and more powerful than it has ever been before. I rebuilt our nuclear, as you probably know, but we'll upgrade that also and just hope we never have to use it. We have to hope we never have to use it.
Upgraded or nuclear?
The power of that is so incredible. I see things I don't think they'd show it to you. I really wouldn't want them to show it to you. But when you see the result of what's left, you never want to use that. Never, never, ever. We were a little bit threatened by Russia.
Were we?
Recently.
When?
And I sent a submarine, nuclear submarine, the most lethal weapon ever made. Number one, you can't detect it. There's no way. We're 25 years ahead of Russia and China in submarines. Russia's actually second in submarines. China's third, but they're coming up. They're coming up. They're way lower in nuclear too, but in 5 years they'll be equal. They're coming up.
I just like the random.
And you don't have to be that good with nuclear.
Being mentioned in the speech, it feels like you're at a senior
1/20th what you have now, and still do the damage that would be. That'd be so.
God, this speech horrendous. Is so fucking boring.
But I announced that, based on his mention of nuclear, and it was really a stupid person that worked, so I mentioned the word nuclear. I moved a submarine or 2, I won't say about the 2, over to the coast of Russia, just to be careful, because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are 2 N-words, and you can't use either of them.
So, he doesn't like when people threaten with nuclear weapons. That makes sense, as he's literally threatening with nuclear weapons, actively, as he speaks. He's like, yeah, you're not allowed to do this. Now, we have the best submarines, and we're stationing them directly outside of Russia. And it's like, okay.
Can't use either of them. And, frankly, if it does get to use, we have more than anybody else. We have better, we have newer, but it's something we don't ever want to even have to think about. But when somebody mentions it, that submarine started immediately thereafter. And it's just lurking, but I'm sure we're not going to have to use it. But it's an amazing... It's undetectable, totally. Ours is, theirs isn't. Theirs are totally detectable. We can detect them easily. We go right to the spot. But we have genius apparatus that doesn't allow detection. It doesn't allow detection at all by anybody, above water or below water. It's incredible. We're way ahead of everybody in that and other things.
They're the most detectable submarines on Earth.
The spirit of our own forces, and that's what it is. It's really reaching that spirit, unprecedented heights. Over the past 8 months, new enlistments, I'm so proud of this, have surged to record highs, the highest we've ever had. And we use...
Okay, let's look that up. Enlistment rates, USA, year over year. Okay. Year by year military recruitments. COVID obviously impacted it. There's a recruitment shortage in 2024. Oh, wait. Wait, no, it didn't have... Literally, it says in the... Clearly, the service is not a recruitment issues in 2024. It seems that there was a lull in recruitment that started because of COVID, but once the DoD regrouped and reattacked recruitment, the numbers show that there is no proof that military recruitment was ever down due to diversity, inclusion, or vaccine programs. This is from USAMM. Okay, so it looks like military recruitment wasn't down. Okay, let's see. Fiscal year 2022 they met 74, that's COVID. 2023, yeah, 2024 they met 100% of their goal. 100% in 2021. I don't see current numbers. Yeah, I guess there aren't current numbers, so...
Yeah, recruiting shortages. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, I was at the beginning stage of a campaign, and things came out that you couldn't get people to join the armed forces. And by the way, the police also...
So 2 years ago, this would be 2023, when the numbers were climbing.
95% of the vote, that helps. When you get 95% of the vote, you always have to mention them. But they're great. And they're brave. In our inner cities, which we're going to be talking about, because it's a big part of war now. It's a big part of war. But the firemen go up in ladders, and you have people shooting at them while they're up in ladders. I don't even know if anybody heard that. And I said, don't talk about it much, but I think you have to. Our firemen are incredible. They're up in one of these ladders that goes way up to the sky, rescuing people, and you have animals shooting at them. Shooting bullets at firemen that are way up in death territory. You fall off, that ladder's over.
What is he even referencing? Is there like one case
and you have people shooting bullets at them in some of these inner cities?
A firefighter getting shot at, that now he's making a sweeping generalization. This is happening all the time.
They're unbelievable people. For the first time on record in 2025, the Navy, Air Force, and Space Force all met or surpassed their recruiting goals 3 months early. That never happened before. And the Army did even better. Congratulations, Army. They met everything. And these were the highest standards because we're making it larger. So these were much higher standards than you had 3 years ago during the Sleepy Joe Biden era.
Yep. So here's just the random bullshit of like, oh, sure, they met their numbers too, but their standards were lower. Ours are like our numbers better because our random arbitrary bullshit.
The big story is that we're way behind with the Army, Air Force, the Navy, the Marines. We're way behind. Coast Guard. And even Space Force. I love Space Force because that was my creation. You know, when you create something, I love it. And the people we put in there were good. I got that right. We put in great people initially, and we really dominated. We really dominated that sphere now.
Didn't we just cut funding to NASA?
And now we dominate. Space Force turned out to be a very important thing. I said from the beginning, you know, when Biden came into office, he wanted to terminate it. He said, and this thing called Space Force, so we could get rid of that. And he got hammered by the people in this room for even suggesting it, because it's very important, one of the most important. And as time goes by, it'll get more and more important. But we're now at 106% of our recruiting targets for the year, and that's the best in far more than a generation. And for the Marines, morale is so strong that the Marine Corps will meet its 2026 retention targets before the end of October, which never happens. And that's the earliest it's ever happened in the history of our country. And it makes you feel good, you know. I felt guilty. I go make a speech in front of never people like you. You are the leaders, but people, soldiers. And I felt embarrassed because there'd be stories about, you know, we couldn't fill up our Army, Navy, Air Force. We couldn't fill them up. And
I like how instead of like talking about like recruitment numbers, like published and talking about like why it happened, like there are probably lessons to be learned. There are things to do. I heard story. He watched the Fox News.
I want the A paper, not the D paper. We used to sign a piece of gold.
Fox News told me that recruitment numbers are down, so I just believe
the big beautiful firm paper. I want to use the real gold writing when you talk about the position, and they're beautiful. And but how would you like to have that where some kid sitting in the back office is having a sign with a note up? And I thought about it, and I thought about you people first, admirals, generals. I said somebody works his whole life. He gets into maybe the academies or wherever, but however you got there, and you go through years of work, and now you become an admiral or a general or whatever. And when you do, the President of the United States signs your commission, as you know, and that commission is beautifully displayed. And I sign it. Actually, I love my signature. I really do. Everyone loves my signature. But I signed it very proudly, and I always think to myself, how can you have an auto pen sign this? It's just so disrespectful. To me, it's just totally disrespectful.
He's literally talking about how great his signature is. What is happening? How tilted would you be if, like, your boss called an all-hands meeting, proceeded to get up there, and then just fucking talk about how great his dick is? Like, I have the biggest dick. It's huge.
Except for what he gave his son,
I love
Hunter,
you guys. My dick is massive.
That's actually the worst signature I've ever seen. That was a bit. The auto pen looks much better. But as leaders, our commitment to every patriot who put on the uniform is to ensure that American military remains the most lethal and dominant on the planet, not merely for a few years, but for the decades and generations to come, for centuries. We must be so strong
you can tell when
no
he's
nation
reading
will dare challenge us, so powerful that no enemy will dare threaten us, and so capable that no adversary can even think about beating us. And we've had it recently. I had India and Pakistan were going at it, and I called them both. And in this case, I used trade. I'm not going to trade with you. You start two nuclear nations, big nuclear. No, you cannot do that. I said, yes, I can. You go into this freaking war that I'm hearing about. You know, actually, they just shut down 7 planes. 7 planes. It was starting. There was a lot of bad blood. And I said, you do this, there's not going to be any trade. And I stopped the war. It was going. It was raging for 4 days, but that was just the beginning. And we stopped it. It was a great thing.
Raging.
The Prime Minister of Pakistan was here, along with the Field Marshal, who's a very important guy
Holy
in Pakistan.
fuck,
He was
this
here
is
2 days ago.
exhausting.
And I didn't even realize it as beautiful as he said it, but he said that
I
to a group of people that
don't
were
even,
with us.
like, I don't
Two generals
understand
from
how
a group.
people can listen to
Basically,
this
man
and
saved
think
millions of
that
lives because he
he's,
saved
like,
the war from
cognate.
going on, and that war was going to get very bad, very, very bad. President Trump saved millions and millions of lives. That was a bad war.
Bad war.
And I was very honored. I loved the way he said it. Susie Wiles was there. She said that was the most beautiful thing. But we saved a lot of them. Saved a lot of them. Even in Africa, we saved the Congo with Rwanda. They've been fighting for 31 years, 10 million people dead. I got that one done. And very proud of it. So if this works out, we'll have 8 in 8 months. That's pretty good. Nobody's ever done that. Will you get the Nobel Prize? Absolutely not. They'll give it to some guy that didn't do a damn thing.
He's just
They'll give it to
ranting,
a guy
like,
that wrote a book about the mind of Donald Trump and what it took to solve the wars. And he'll get the Nobel Prize will go to a writer. No, but we'll see what happens. But
I would love
be a big
if they
insult to
just
our
turn the
country. I will
camera
tell you
around.
that. I
Just the
don't want it. I
look
want
of,
the
like,
country
what
to
the
get it.
fuck am I here for?
It should get it because there's never been anything like
all
it.
these
Think of it.
military
So if
officers
this
ripped
happens,
from
I
what,
think it
like,
will.
active
I don't
duty
say that
places
lightly, 'cause
all
I know
around the
more about
world.
deals than anybody. This is what my whole life was based on. And they can change, and this can certainly change. But we have just about everybody. We have one signature that we need, and that signature will pay in hell if they don't sign. I hope they sign for their own good and we create something really great. But to have done 8 of them is just like such an honor. And then we have Putin and Zelensky.
I feel like I went back in time because he's talking about the same shit
I thought
he
that
was
going
10
to be
minutes
first.
ago.
The other was much harder. Some of them. Azerbaijan this was going on for 36 years. They said it's not solvable, so don't do it. I said, I will do it. I will do it. And I got on the phone with the 2 countries. They were great. They were great. I knew immediately. I knew as soon as I started talking to them, we're going to solve that war. And we did. Now they're so happy. Now they're friends. One said he's been president for 32 years, 22 years. He said, for 22 years, I did nothing but kill his people. They were in the room together at the Oval Office. And they started off spread like this. They have the beautiful Resolute desk. And one was here, and one was...
This is exhausting. I can't. I don't think I can last.
You couldn't get further away. That's the furthest I've ever seen 2 people in front of me. And as the hour went by, they got closer, closer, closer. And at the end
by
of
the
hour,
end, they
we
were
had it
just
done,
fucking knee deep
and they
into
hugged
each other.
and hugged and hugged. And
they
I
were
said,
kissing, they were sucking, they were fucking.
That's so nice, and you're going to remain friends. And I spoke to them, one of them the other
This
day.
is
He
literally
said, no,
like
he's now my
fanfic,
friend.
right? I walked
But
in
for
a room and
22
people
years,
hated
he's
each
been
other.
the head of
5 minutes later,
Azerbaijan for
we were
22
all
years.
tongue kissing.
And the other guy, great guy too, 7. And you know that war, that was a war that was not solvable. He said
True,
for
not
7
solvable.
years.
Other than the
said for
genius of Donald
22
Trump,
years, all I
can't
did
even
was
lead
kill
our
his
own
people.
country,
That's
though.
all I've done.
Unlucky.
I said, well, we're going to put a
Unlucky.
stop to
Better
that.
country,
So
I guess, isn't
we solved that. So it's a great thing. It's a great
Azerbaijan.
feeling. You're saving Kosovo and Serbia. You're saving so many lives doing this if you can do it. But our people deserve nothing less than the very best. And
We have
we're never
4
gonna let them
hours
down.
till the fucking
And if we can
entire
solve
shit
wars
goes
instead
on.
of you having to fight wars, wouldn't that be wonderful, right? Wouldn't that be wonderful? That's why one of the first executive orders I signed upon taking office was to restore the principle of merit. That's the most important word, other than the word tariff. I love tariffs.
Love them.
Most beautiful word. But I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I said tariff is my favorite word. I love the word tariff. We're becoming rich as hell. We have a big case in front of the Supreme Court, but I can't imagine, because this is what other nations have done to us. And we have, great legal grounds. But you still have a case. It would be very bad if something happened. But I said, my favorite word in the English dictionary is the word tariff. And people thought that was strange. And the fake news came over, and they really hit me hard on it. They said, what about love? What about religion? What about God? What about wife, family? I got killed when I said tariff is my favorite word. So I changed
okay,
it.
yeah. I can't do this anymore. Is the Senate live still? Jesus. So it's just straight shutdown.
Fight here. Function.